A device that every property owner should have in their arsenal is a handy cordless chainsaw. But how about the idea of being able to use the device or its battery as effectively as possible? For example, with recharging via USB Type-C and using it as a power bank. This and much more is promised to us by the relatively unknown manufacturer LITHELI with the compact cordless chainsaw U20. Sounds extremely interesting. I would say in today's video, we'll take a look at what this device really has to offer, how it performs in the test, and whether it's worth the investment or not. I hope you're just as excited, so lean back, but before we start, if you haven't already, quickly subscribe to this channel now and activate the bell so you don't miss any future videos. You can find the current prices of these devices down in the video description. Many thanks for your support, and let's get started after the intro. After having tested several cordless chainsaws from different manufacturers for you in previous videos, today I have a special device for you. I'm talking about the compact cordless chainsaw U20 from the relatively unknown manufacturer LITHELI. What makes this cordless chainsaw so special, what it has to offer, and how it performs in the test, that's what we're going to take a look at in today's video. By the way, if you haven't seen the videos about these devices in the background yet, definitely check them out. I'll link the videos up here on the info card in the top right corner. For this reason, I would say let's now dive right into the compact saw. As you can see on the product box, we already got some specifications about the actual device. I would suggest let's take a look directly at what's included in the package. From the package, we get two small instruction manuals at the very top, one in German and one in English, followed on the right side by the included 2 amp-hour battery, and finally, in the product box, the actual LITHELI cordless chainsaw. That's all there is to it. The package contents are definitely relatively straightforward. Nevertheless, basically everything necessary is included to get the chainsaw up and running directly. We receive an included 2 amp-hour battery, the bar and chain are already assembled. The only thing missing here is some chain oil, so I would say let's take a detailed look at the chainsaw. Starting with the exterior, the first thing that naturally catches the eye is the particularly striking appearance of this manufacturer. With its color scheme of white, black, and orange, the device looks very visually appealing and high quality in my opinion. On the other hand, it's immediately clear that the device is prone to getting dirty as it's used outdoors and not indoors. As for the construction, the device stands up quite well. The housing is naturally made of simple, glossy plastic, which, as one can see, is undoubtedly prone to scratches. On the other hand, the device appears to be quite robust. Upon closer inspection, we find consistent gap dimensions throughout the device, and I couldn't find any sharp plastic edges or residues from the manufacturing process. When picking up the chainsaw for the first time, one immediately notices that the device is nicely compact, both in terms of size and weight. With a net weight of just 1,227 grams, as can also be seen in the graphic, the saw ranks in the good middle range compared to the other devices already tested, so it's also nicely manageable. This is further emphasized by a comfortable and adequately sized handle on the back. As you can see, the handle is fully rubberized on the top, while on the bottom it's made of plastic. Nevertheless, it is, I can say, definitely non-slip and comfortable to grip. Furthermore, all important controls such as the thumb release and the trigger for the index finger are easily accessible from here. Due to the continuous bolt, the device can be used effortlessly by both right and left-handers and can be easily activated with the trigger using the index finger on the underside. It should be mentioned at this point, the trigger only has one stage, which means on or off, but this is actually common for a device in this price range. At the very back or on the underside of the device is the battery compartment for the included 2 amp-hour battery, which is also a major feature of this manufacturer. LITHELI's goal, called Infinitive Power Share, or IPS, is to enable the most versatile use of the battery, even outside of the actual tool. Taking a closer look at the battery, it also makes a good impression at first glance. It consists, as you can see, almost entirely of white glossy plastic. The whole thing also looks very visually appealing, but of course, on the other hand, as you can already see here on the back, it's naturally very prone to scratches and impacts. For this battery, for example, I would have wished for some protective edges, maybe made of rubber, in case the battery should accidentally fall. On the other hand, the battery is also nicely compact and weighs only 400 grams, making it super easy to transport and store. This is of course due in no small part to the corresponding capacity. LITHELI relies on a powerful 20-volt drive, thus the battery has a capacity of 2 ampere-hours or 37 watt-hours and can be used in the system just like with most other manufacturers. This means, in this case, it can be easily used with all U20 devices from LITHELI, such as this chainsaw, the leaf blower, or similar devices. So far, nothing particularly special. Much more interesting, however, are the ports on the underside, because as you can see, the battery has a USB Type-A and a USB Type-C port directly in the housing. The interesting thing here, the 2 USB ports not only serve as outputs, but specifically the USB Type-C port also serves as an input. This means, for this power tool battery, we don't need a special charger. Instead, we can simply recharge this battery with the smartphone charging cable. I find the idea quite interesting, especially since the performance data, which I'll display in the video shortly, are also quite impressive. Specifically, the battery charges at a maximum of 45 watts and can output a maximum of 45 watts on the other side. This means, in practice, it takes less than an hour for this compact 2 amp-hour battery to be fully charged. So, on the one hand, I can not only operate my tools, but on the other hand, I can also charge my smartphone, laptop, or similar devices. Quite interesting, isn't it? What do you think of this idea? Feel free to share your opinion on this down in the comments. So much for the manufacturer's battery system. Let's now take another look at the saw before we move on to the practical test. At the very top, as you can see, there's a rather compact motor housing. LITHELI relies on an efficient and powerful brushless motor, which, of course, can deliver quite a bit of power in practice. How powerful the device really is, we'll see in the test shortly. The assembly or replacement of the chain is really extremely easy. For this purpose, we find a nicely sized quick-release mechanism on the left side, which can be easily opened and also tool-free. Directly below, as you can see, is the nicely sized bar with a proud length of a solid 150 millimeters. With this, the LITHELI cordless chainsaw, as you can see in the graphic, definitely performs quite well compared to other chainsaws and allows for cutting significantly larger diameters. Another special feature is that the saw chain on this device does not need to be tensioned or actually cannot be tensioned. Additionally, it's not automatically tensioned but remains under tension solely due to being mounted on the bar, which may sound a bit unusual at first glance but works surprisingly well in practice. Even after extended use, I couldn't notice any significant loosening of the chain, as you can see. Even after numerous cuts, the chain remains very tight. To ensure that the chain remains well lubricated during use, the device also has an automatic chain lubrication system. For this purpose, we find the built-in chain oil tank on the other side. As you can see, it's made of translucent plastic for checking the oil level. Directly above is the cap, which is normally secured with a safety cord. Unfortunately, in my case, the whole thing came loose. As for the capacity, the device has a volume of 55 millimeters. As you can see in the graphic, this is definitely a good average compared to the devices already tested. From my experience, I can also say that the 55 millimeters are sufficient to work with the device for about 1 battery charge. After that, the tank definitely needs to be refilled. In practice, I extensively tested the device on different materials, all in conjunction with a fully charged battery, a brand new and tensioned chain, and sufficient chain oil in the tank. I started with a relatively thin wooden strip, 25 by 45 millimeters, to get familiar with the device first. As you can see, absolutely no problems. Several cuts were made consecutively here. Then I switched to a thicker wooden board, 15 by 145 millimeters, and also made several consecutive cuts here. In this case, the results were identical performance-wise, absolutely no problem. It looked pretty similar with the significantly thicker wooden boards as well, 35 by 95 millimeters, and the even thicker wooden board, 30 by 240 millimeters. Here too, I could observe very good results. Performance-wise, there were definitely no issues here, no overload protection or the like kicking in. Of course, the cut took a bit longer due to the slightly thicker material, but as I said, no problems with this challenge per se. Another important influencing factor in this regard is the chain speed. LITHELI specifies a maximum chain speed for this device of 7.5 meters per second, which is definitely quite appealing. Compared to the devices already tested, as you can see in the graph, the saw also performs quite well, which of course can also be observed in practice with good saw progress. After the saw had no difficulties with the materials already tested, I tested the device again on a slightly thicker trunk with a diameter of 85 millimeters. Here too, I made several cuts and immediately noticed that the saw naturally had more struggle. That means, although the cut took a few seconds, there were no major performance issues here either. And last but not least, due to the large bar length of 150 millimeters, I made it a bit more difficult here and wanted to know what is really possible performance-wise. For this purpose, I used a trunk with 120 millimeters in diameter and made several cuts. It must be said that the device was slowly reaching its performance limits, which means in this case, with such large trunks, one should definitely not apply pressure to the saw anymore, but rather let the device work for itself. This takes a bit longer, but still, as you can see, the device could easily cut through the 120 millimeter trunk. As for the battery life, the compact still shows a remaining capacity of 2 out of 4 bars after the test. That's why I decided to add a stress test to see what's really possible performance-wise. For this, I used a squared timber 80 by 100 millimeters and could easily perform a total of 28 cuts with the existing battery charge before the battery was completely depleted. Overall, I can now say that the LITHELI cordless chainsaw has definitely performed quite well. The device is nicely compact and sufficiently powerful, so it can operate almost the full length of the bar in practice without major performance drops. On the other hand, it also achieves a pretty good battery life with such a compact battery. For anyone looking for an affordable and very good value for money cordless pruning saw that offers adequate performance and endurance, this device is definitely a good choice. That's all from me. Now, I'm curious to hear, what do you think of this device? What do you think of this battery system? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback. And so, I would say if you enjoyed the video, please show it with a strong thumbs up. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel now and activate the bell to not miss any future videos. You can find the current prices of this device down in the video description. Thank you very, very much for your support, and with that, take care until next time.